In the late 7th century BC, the kingdom of Judah was anchored by centuries of royal lineage and deep religious tradition, but that stability was fracturing. Internally, society was collapsing under the weight of rampant violence and daily strife, tearing the rule of law apart at the seams. Looking at the ancient Hebrew text on an unrolled Torah scroll, we see the laws meant to govern the nation. Habakkuk describes this law as paralyzed or numb. It had lost its pulse, entirely failing to shape the actions of the people. As a result, the wicked began to surround and intimidate the innocent. Consequently, the justice system emerged completely perverted. For Habakkuk, the silence from above is far more alarming than the societal collapse itself. He turns away from his corrupt neighbors and points a finger directly at an unresponsive God. The opening of this book is not a sermon directed at the masses. The Hebrew text uses the word masa, a heavy burden or oracle, framing the chapter as a formal litigation where Habakkuk steps into the role of a prosecutor. His accusation is raw. He cries out against the violence in the streets, charging that by remaining a silent bystander, God actively tolerates the abuse. We can visualize this theological tension on a scale. On one side, we have the heavy mounting weight of violence and injustice. On the other, the static expectation of divine intervention. The core question of theodicy emerges. How can a holy deity allow unchecked suffering? Habakkuk concludes his opening argument by demanding a verdict, forcing the Almighty into the witness stand to defend his inaction. God eventually answers the prophet, but the response comes with a stark warning. He is preparing a work so unbelievable that Habakkuk will reject it, even with advance notice. That unbelievable work is the mobilization of the Chaldeans, or Babylonians, a ruthless, greedy nation preparing to sweep across the earth. This prophecy lands right at a massive geopolitical pivot. The Assyrian Empire is crumbling, and Babylon is rapidly seizing dominance to fill the power vacuum. God is making it perfectly clear that he hasn't ignored the local violence in Judah. His solution, however, is to unleash a global nightmare upon them. God's own scout report describes a war machine of terrifying speed. The Babylonian cavalry charges with a ferocity compared to swift leopards and ravenous wolves. Their siege tactics are relentless. They mock foreign kings, treat fortified cities as a joke, and capture them simply by piling up massive earthen ramps against the walls. Looking at this stone relief, we see their mass deportation practices, gathering captives like sand. But the true terror is spiritual. Answering to no laws, their allegiance is to their own strength. Their military might has become their god. Using a supreme evil to punish a lesser one creates an immediate, severe moral crisis. The proposed cure seems infinitely worse than the disease. Habakkuk goes into a theological tailspin. He pivots back to God, citing the Creator's own eternal nature and absolute purity to argue against this violent plan. The conflict looks like an irreconcilable collision of logic. How can a deity with eyes too pure to look upon evil stand idle while a wicked nation swallows up a people more righteous than themselves? The prophet vigorously interrogates God's moral consistency. He refuses to settle for an answer that seems to compromise the holiness of the judge. To illustrate this, Habakkuk uses a haunting metaphor. He compares humanity to defenseless fish, scooped out of the sea by a Babylonian tyrant wielding a massive throw net. The ultimate irony of this slaughter is where the Babylonians place their devotion. They literally offer sacrifices to their nets, worshipping their own military technology as the source of their prosperity. The chapter closes with a desperate question. Will this tyrant be allowed to keep emptying his net and destroying nations without mercy? Chapter 1 offers no immediate comfort, ending on a pure cliffhanger. Habakkuk crosses his arms and waits for a reply, demonstrating that robust faith requires the courage to vigorously wrestle with the dark, unresolved complexities of divine justice.